Competitive parkour is one of the most underrated game modes in all of Cubecraft. Throughout its lifespan, it has not seen many players since the initial release, but a few dedicated runners have taken a liking to this game mode, and made it become the perfect speedrunning place possible on Cubecraft. But there has always been one map, a map that has been optimized to the point of almost perfection. This is the history of Oriental on competitive parkour. To start off, we have to go to the first submitted Oriental time by Hermberg YT, with a time of 53.756. This time was extremely unoptimized, as Herm was on mobile and took an extremely safe route throughout the map, showing a playthrough that they totally didn't have to stop halfway through to text someone. Sadly, the requirements to submit a competitive parkour time never had to record gameplay, so what I'm talking about is only speculation for how it was played. Then, only 5 hours later, Gaming Gangsta 568 got a time of 48.019, being the first controller player to have a time. Then, again, only 1 hour later, Steven19 got a huge new world record, 41.193, again somebody on mobile. This time, he didn't have a single death, and so beat the world record by many seconds. At this point, people have been trying to optimize the record more, but we're having trouble with buggy water, which was a big issue back in pre-patch Oriental. The next day, IJV14 got on a very good run, again not dying, but this time optimizing it even further, getting a 38.504. He said that I got a bad pace, don't worry, you'll get it down quick, I'm sure. This showed that he wasn't confident in his record, meaning that somebody could easily improve on it. And only 1 day later, Impaling V got a 34.759. This demolished the world record, and setting a time that was finally truly optimized. Going for many very small shortcuts throughout the level, he made sure that this time would be much harder to beat. The next few days had many new submissions, but no record. Impaling had actually made a very good time. Then, the hype died down and people started moving to other maps, so it stayed dormant until October 10th, 2021, when CrazyMan1234 shared a new strategy he found out about that would change Oriental forever. As October went by, people started to try and use this strategy in an actual run, and on November 13th, 2021, Solo1290 got a new world record of 34.453. This record actually has surviving video proof, so we can see that he didn't use Crazy Man's strategy, but still did do a skip on that part, saying that Crazy's strategy was possible on the left side of the map. This record could be improved. We also saw a few more optimizations with a ladder momentum boost and a few skips over some easy 4-block jumps that had been used for a while. Then, Seoul went on an absolute spree of records. A 34.252 that actually used the skip from October. Then, only 3 minutes later, a 33.110, destroying the record and showing that Oriental had a lot more to work on. This record was crazy, but Seoul still wasn't done, shown by another 2 records on the same day. This was because a new strategy was also found, showing that the start could have a lot more optimization landing on the side of the staircase and going more like this, instead of what he was doing before. A 32.619 finally finished the day and showed the community that Oriental would have a lot more on its hands. On November 15th and November 17th, Seoul lowered the record again to a 31.957, finally a sub 32, and maybe breaking the final second barrier on the map, as the run was getting extremely optimized at this point. As November passed, Seoul got 2 more runs that weren't recorded, getting a 31.660 on November 20th and a 31.641 the next day. Then, silence. Nobody cared about competitive parkour, and now that the hype has died down, the record would stay. After many months, on January 14th, 2022, CrazyMan1234 got this run. a 31.158, and as Crazy said, exactly everything I wanted, so I can safely say this will stand for a while. I don't see 30 happening anytime soon unless somebody grinds the heck out of this map. This run was crazy. Nobody would have expected him to pull something like that, and nobody thought anyone could beat it, not even Seoul. It had a crazy start, an amazing middle with a new ladder skip and an S-tap ladder at the end to gain only a fraction of time. A record that would finally kill Oriental. And so, nobody grinded. And when the end of January hit, people were still not expecting anything to happen. But then, Seoul came back and was ready to take his record. On January 31st, 2022, he got a 31.070, beating the impossible time from Crazy Man and getting extremely close to the final second barrier, the 32nd time. And throughout this day, he grinded for even more time and got this. This was crazy. He had bought Parkour Rank and made sure to only play Oriental, making his runs go up by extreme amounts of volume, leaving Crazy Man in the dust. Now, everyone could only watch. A 30.828 was the final time at the end of the day, beating Crazy's time by 400 milliseconds. But only after 3 weeks, he felt the urge to play again, and this time he would grind even more. Only a week after starting, he got a 30.765 and then a 30.662. Nobody had this kind of skill in Oriental. The only other person possible that could beat him was Crazy, and Crazy didn't have rank and was a right side main, meaning it was almost impossible to take the record from him. This was his map, and he wasn't gonna let anyone take it. At the end of March, he stopped on a 30.457, showing everyone that the map was dead. Throughout the next months, nothing really happened. April, May, June, and July, nothing. But then at summer break he came back, and in one day lowered the record 3 more times. 30.393, 30.339, and 30.275. This was all because Crazy Man was still stuck on the right side, and that side being over a second slower made it impossible for him to compete with Seoul. But if the top player couldn't do it, maybe the third could. Impaling V, the person who created the server, was now starting to play Oriental, and being a left side main just like Seoul, he knew he could take this record. Going from a 34.759 to a 30.600 in one day, this made Seoul terrified of what was going to happen to his record. So the next day, Seoul grinded and got a 30.237, saying that Impaling should race for the sub 30. And so, the race began. At the end of September 11th, the record was a staggering 30.167, being extremely close to a sub 30. But nobody could get it. And so, both of them quit. And they quit for a while. This time, even more months than before. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 months had gone by until Seoul finally came back with a 30.081. This time, truly motivated for the record to go under 30 seconds. It had been at 30 for so long, and this time, he really needed it done. And so, over 2 months, he grinded all the way down to a 30.052, only 2 ticks away from getting the sub 30. But it wasn't meant to be. And after all this time, Seoul couldn't get 2 ticks.
Only 2 ticks off being the sub 30, and with nobody going for it. Now, the competitive parkour community needs whoever is willing to step up to the challenge. The sub 30. ... That was the history of Oriental. Through many turns, it went from 53-second time all the way to 30.052. The history of Oriental is full of tricks and techniques that have been used many to different runners. Thanks for watching.
This video was literally made in 3 hours. I don't have much time left. I have an hour and 15 minutes left to edit the entire video. I just finished the audio. Please, please send help. Watch Shane's video.